Hello and welcome to week 7 and 8 of The Unconventional Man. So, guys, we're going to finish this thing up in a special type of way. I can only give you a small inkling of how much I appreciate you all pushing through and working to the end with this. I know you're committed because you've paid, and you paid more than once. And I know you're doing the stuff, right? I mean, I said to you guys earlier, I mean, that's the truth of anything, whether it's school, whether it's a sport, whether it's your job. You know, if you put the time, energy, and money into it and follow up with that stuff, the lessons are there for you to learn. So you guys have committed to finishing. I'm committed to finishing. The videos are all done. What I'm going to do for the next couple is I'm going to do the lessons 2 at a time so that we can get through it on a more effective pace. Okay, so the overview for where we're at right now. I want you guys commit to finishing. I know it has been really challenging for you to find as much time as you wanted to spend on this. Hopefully, as we've gone through the 10 weeks, you've become more specific and intelligent and even creative about how you do it. Getting it done is the most important thing. Getting it done well is the second most important thing, but showing up for your reps is the most important thing. And your body is something you're going to carry with you forever. So you've got to commit to doing whatever it takes to get the actions that you need to learn in your body done. I want you guys to continue to remember what you know and look for those actions, all the places that you exercise and move. What do I mean? Your scoop, your perch, that's the base of your pelvic floor, the base of your core strength. You can use it in everything from driving to lifting to doing the dishes. Cinching and pinching, that's the foundation of your upper torso, how you keep your ribs in place, how you keep your shoulders attached to your arms. Again, available in everything from shoveling the snow to raking to pulling a wheelbarrow, no matter what it is. Keep those things in mind. These skills are what allow you guys to move with better posture and have given you a set of movement skills to take you to the next level. Your milestone habits, the things that you have been practicing in this that you may have taken for granted that you want to hold on to. Number 1 is your perfect week's training schedule. So we started with that at the beginning, so you would have a vision of what your week needed to look like for you to get to the next level. After all of this time fighting to get that week, because I know it doesn't always happen perfectly, making adjustments based on your schedule. I mean, maybe over this time, you know, your work schedule has changed, your life schedule has changed. What you want to understand is that there needs to be a place always where that keeps it in the front of your mind, how you're going to manage your days that allow you to get the actions in for your body. There is nothing more important than your mind and body, not your money, not your partner, not your business, not your kids. You can't do anything without those things, nothing well. So you must, you know, the perfect week doesn't say forget about those things. It says work those things in intelligently, but don't forget about you. So your perfect week training schedule is something you should be revisit. If ever you feel like you're off pace, that's where you need to go. That's what you need to review. That's the thing that when you're, what am I going to do this week? You make sure you factor that part into the what are you going to do this week, because that is the most important thing you can do. After that, the other things will fall into place. You have a Pilates sequence to practice. You have rolling sequences. You have stretching sequences. What you're looking for is the space inside you that says that these things, you're looking for the space where you start to miss it. You know, when you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, I'm stiff, but you know what to do. When you come in from the run or the walk and something's hurting, but you know what to do. To know how to get yourself back to that happy place is to have the keys to do whatever it is you feel necessary. So don't underestimate the things that you've learned. In fact, learn to be a lot more conscious about the things that you're working on and how to become an expert in your own body. So week 7 in week 7 breath holding, the idea was we were teaching about the idea of holding your breath. And so in the breath holding space, there were two ends. You were either holding your breath extremely full, or you were holding your breath at your full depletion state. And in both of those areas, the idea is for you to focus on what it feels like to have everything and what it feels like to have nothing on the inside, right? If there's something you can pull from that metaphor, it's that whether you have everything or whether you have nothing, you're still you, and things are still moving, and it's going to go back in the other direction anyway. So, from a breath standpoint, from a physical standpoint, it's a skill to learn to hold that end. It's holding the end helps the end become more easy to access. So you're practicing teaching your nervous system how far you can go in both directions. But don't underestimate something as simple as this, and remembering to enjoy the experience of the thoughts that are transferring through your mind as you're doing that. Week 8 breathing lesson was about fire breathing. And so in the fire breathing, the idea was you're going to use your diaphragm to push it out. You know that your breath is the thing that gets oxygen to your body. And you know that if you work harder, that your diaphragm works harder. But as with all of our exercises, which were helping you get conscious of it or helping you extend the range of it, this exercise is literally you just working your diaphragm for endurance, right? And so it's like contraction, relax. And there are a lot of benefits to it. One of the biggest is actually improving the endurance of the endurance and strength of the diaphragm. So this will eventually allow you to breathe deeper and more full. But that movement of the diaphragm, it allows everything in the belly to churn, to feel its own movement and changes. And so these internal organs, what's happening, it's a form of a massage on the inside, and you're also doing a great job of pushing the air from outside of the lungs. So that's what that fire breathing portion is about. So in our stretching sequence, in week 7, we worked with lunges, and I brought my walking stick in. So I hope you guys have some version of a walking stick or a dowel or a broomstick. And we did a lot of work on opening up the hip flexors. The big message on stretching with a dowel is that, the pictures that I've chosen here are designed to help you, if you can see both of these legs, whether it's the gentleman throwing the knee or the gentleman running with the spear, their legs are in a lunge, right? So running is lunging over and over and over again really, really quickly, right? And so lunging is about propelling our body forward. We don't lunge for the sake. There's actually no such thing as a lunge, if that would make sense. Like, it's a name that we give an exercise, but the purpose, the reason for a lunge is to move your torso forward, or to throw your force forward, or to throw an object forward, right? And so the idea is it helps you see with the dowel, helps you connect your upper torso to the lunges so you can increase the range of motion. There really is no limit to the shapes you can create with a lunge and and another apparatus in your hand, because ultimately what that does is help bring everything in closer and more connected together. In week 8 for our stretching, we started to work on a seated wide-legged pose. And I know you guys know this stretch is very familiar. I've numbered these pictures in here because I want to be able to talk to them and help you guys see how you can play with them. So in terms of what you want to do with this stretch, like how do you know when you're really starting to get good at it? Number one is what I would picture. Number one is what I would consider a very great version of this stretch. You know, your elbows being connected to the floor, being able to hold a lot of length in the spine, and don't forget to notice the direction of his feet. They are vertical and they are pressed into the ground. So if there's something you guys are working towards, that would be it. The picture beside it, you can see that it is a really awesome way to practice with a partner to help them pull you into the stretch, because you guys can both work it back and forth. And there's not only a bonding and a connection that happens when you do that, but it actually does make the stretch a little bit more dynamic and easier to accomplish. Picture number two shows you the idea of sitting in that stretch and getting your spine to vertical, right? And so you guys can see how number two and number one can play off of each other. Now, picture number three and number five, I have those in there so you can understand what these stretches are about. So ultimately, what stretching is about is improving the way that your legs separate from each other. Your ability of your legs to separate, create distance in opposite directions, is what's required to create the locomotion of your body, or to transfer power in your body. And so even though we're doing a wide stretch with both our legs out, I want you to see that, you know, if I was to move my legs in the sagittal plane, that's the front to back direction, as in picture number three and number five, I'm also doing a wide-legged stretch, right? And you can see that these stretches can take place in many different variations in space. So enjoy wide leg stretching and work that a lot, because your legs will always be moving in opposite directions as long as you're moving where you want to go. So our next section is talking about rolling. And so in this part right here, what I've done is try to include for you the layers of muscles that you're going to work through. In the rolling sections, we were either rolling on our chest and our chest and our biceps, our shoulders and our triceps, and well, all four of those things work together. Like the front and the back of your arms have to work together. There's really no isolation that's ever happening. So, you know, the biggest thing I can encourage you to do is to use these pictures as a guide for the direction that you need to run the roller, and also noticing with your imagination, you know, what would happen to the direction of those lines as I move my arm, as I move my shoulder, as I twist my thumb up and back, because it's understanding how the muscles are moving as you've pinned the roller underneath, or as you're pressuring the roller underneath the muscle. That's what's going to help you get a good feeling for, okay, how do I get my body to the next level in terms of the stretching? Okay, so follow directions, but also keep in mind what it is your body looks like from the inside, so you actually know what it is that you're working on. For our Pilates workshops these weeks, I'm including pictures of spiral lines that help you understand how everything integrates together. I think in the beginning, you know, when we were doing the easier exercises, the beginner exercises, scoop and perch, those were very new things for you. And so I needed to make it simple and help you focus on those things. But now as you get into the intermediate and even advanced exercises, you need to start to recognize that scoop, perch, cinch, and pinch all work together at the same time to create anything. So when I look at these four pictures on the left, and it shows you the lateral line, the spiral line, the superficial back line, the superficial front line, I want you to be able to see, can you see how scooping takes place and how it's going to activate those lines? Can you see how perching takes place? Can you see how wrapping the hips and pressing your legs into the floor helps you find the spiral lines? So these are the visions that I want you to keep in your mind when you're thinking about, oh, how do I make my side kick bigger? When Ajamu says, you know, get my spine longer, what am I actually doing? What do these lines look like when you take the shapes? And how can you keep them as long as you possibly can? The last part I want to point out in today's workshop is um, I guess it's a connection to the thighs and the hips. I was given this really awesome metaphor once, talking about the strength of the legs and where it comes from. And so I have here the legs of a folding table and the femur and your pelvis. And the idea is I want you to see how these shapes are similar, so you can understand how the strength of your body actually works. So your femur bone and the legs of the table essentially represent the same thing. And what they do is vertically support the weight. Your pelvis bone and the table are the same thing. What they do is allow something to sit on top of it so it can disperse that weight into the legs, right? So your pelvis, your bones are strength. They are anchors. They hold things. Now, the muscles, your adductor longus, and the that diagonal line that comes and attaches the table to the leg. Now, that is a moving piece. It's a moving piece on the table, and it's a muscle on your legs. And so, imagine you have a table, okay? And so the table is sturdy not because of these vertical lines, but because of these slanted lines, right? The muscle keeps these vertical legs from splaying out, right? And so what you are working on getting good at with your body, because the table, the legs are that inside line is metal, it doesn't have any give. But in your body, that diagonal line, that's a muscle. The bone's not going to give. So if anything has to give for a shape, it's going to be the muscle. So what you are doing when you're practicing perching, scooping, pulling to the center, you're making that center line stronger. And when the center line is stronger and the legs of the table won't splay and the pelvis of the table can hold whatever it is because you can find the center, that is when you have access to all of your strength. And that is when you can take things to a new level. So we got a lot to work on. I hope you enjoy this shorter version. Week 7 and 8 in one lecture. Week 9 and 10 will come in another lecture. All the videos are up there, so if you want to scoop ahead, you can. But in the meantime, in between time, don't lose the time, my friends. Continue your lovely actions and be unconventional.